Hello and welcome to Pynetlabs. We are a training institute providing world-class training on the most sought-after courses in the IT industry. We pride ourselves with providing practical-oriented courses that make our students placement-ready or job-ready for their roles. I'm Suhil Chapanwala, a senior trainer at PyNetlabs. I have been providing training to a wide audience on things like CCNA, CCNP, SCOR, NRC, and security-related courses. Today, we will be looking into uh, the SCOR examination, right? And let's first understand why is there a need to do security courses, right? So we have been seeing this for a very long time that everything is being digitized, right? Most businesses have been moving digital ever so more, even after the pandemic, right? So as you move more digital, more online, of course, the risks to your business increase, right? And these cyber threats basically need to be evaded, right? And for that, you need to be trained specifically. So CCNP Security, that's the professional level certification from Cisco, helps you in achieving that. There is a wide range, a landscape of products that you can use and you need to be trained on so that you can tackle the security related problems. With related to SCOR, SCOR is basically the first core examination in the CCNP certification for security, right? So SCOR basically covers like a wide range of landscape of what security deals with and gives you an introduction to all that you require to master this field. So that's step one. And but then again, there is after that you can opt for a concentration exam, which I will get to in a while. So after the core exam, wherein you learn all the introductory nature of various products. For example, in your organizations, of course, you need layer 2 devices and you need layer 3 devices. And there is also email security, there is web security, there is endpoint security, right? And so on and so forth. There is identity services engine and so on and so forth. So there are so many things that you need to look into. All of these are basically covered into the core examination. However, that being said, after this course, after the SCOR course, what you can opt for is the concentration exam, right? So concentration exam, as you can see, are these many, right? So you could possibly opt for securing your network with Cisco Firepower. That's the firewall from Cisco. Or maybe you want to specialize yourself with identity service engines, right? Maybe you want to do email security appliance, or maybe you want to do web security appliance, or maybe you want to get into VPN or automation and things like that, or maybe even designing. There are concentration exams for all of that. Once you have the core exam and the concentration exam, you can you are a professional certified CCNP, a security professional. Anyway, coming back to our original topic of the SCOR exam, right? So who will be doing SCOR, right? So these can be people who want to upgrade themselves into security, right? Although there are no prerequisites, as you can see, there are no prerequisites into doing security as such, but of course, a basic knowledge of networking is required. I would recommend that people would have at least basic knowledge of CCNA, at least, and that would possibly help them understand the SCOR course better. Also, once the course with this SCOR, for example, once it's done, you could opt for possible job roles like an associate security engineer, maybe a network security engineer, information security analyst, or maybe an information security engineer, right? So relating to security. And as you can see, of course, if you do the certification, the international certification, of course, this is valid for 3 years, as you can see it on the Cisco website. Right, so that's the SCOR exam. Hoping that you are interested and hoping to see you in the class soon. So we are here to discuss the SCOR 35701 course outline, right? So the course, of course, has a lot of concepts and security theories to be discussed, of course. But of course, apart from that, there are some specific lab outlines that will give you a gist of what to expect from the course. As such, the course, apart, like I said, from all the theory and the like security concepts, will have um, specific deliveries on layer 2 methods. So basically, this will we will be looking into like switching, right? So how to secure switches, because switches, of course, all enterprise networks use switches in some way or the other. That's a basic part of the network, and you have to secure them, right? So maybe through VLANs, maybe you want to secure some ports, maybe you want to have security in terms of DHCP, so that rogue DHCPs don't um, uh, play maliciously in your network. Okay, and so you have some things like DHCP snooping and DAI that work with that. Maybe you want to work with a broadcast storms, right? That is a particularly destructive thing in the network. So that is where you learn about the storm control, and maybe you also want to segregate VLANs in a more specific way, right? So private VLANs basically help you do that. So that's a specific security concept with regards to VLAN. It's a little more advanced than the usual VLANs that you have. So within the same VLAN, if you want to have segregations, right, using the same subnet, the same VLAN, if you still want to segregate them further, that is where the private VLANs come into play. So that's the layer 2 security hardening, if you would say. Now, as you might know that Cisco has their own firewalls, right? They're called as adaptive security appliances, or the Firepower, the newer line of products, right? So here we'll be looking into those as to how to initially deploy them in terms of configuring interfaces, security levels, access policies, and some other things like ACL, which you might have seen on routers, but how do you configure them? And a little more advanced things like ACL object groups. Apart from that, of course, basic routing, NAT, and how do you also configure things with uh, a graphical user interface using something called as Adaptive Security Device Manager. Now, beyond that, of course, with with the layer 3, you would also be learning how to configure SNMP version 3, right? Again, you will be learning about role-based CLIs. So there is something called as the privilege levels, right? But they don't really cater well enough. So beyond that, you have role-based CLI access, which you can deploy for your users, and that helps a lot. Apart from that, we'll be looking into basically how to secure some basic network management services like syslog and NTP, right? So that's about the layer 3 in both these things. It is more or less layer 3 sort of things that we will be learning how to secure them. Apart from that, a very important security feature is, of course, the VPN. So you'll be learning about the site-to-site VPN, the dynamic multi-point VPN, how to set up remote access VPNs. Okay, we are through the AnyConnect, right? And we will be using the ASDM here to connect through the remote access. We'll also be learning about the SVTI-based VPN here. So that's all about the VPNs. Now, in all enterprise networks, of course, you also have some way or the other using emails, right? And a lot of malware or a lot of hacking stuff can be introduced through email. So you might want to spam filter, right? You want to maybe scan for anti-malware. You want to filter emails basically, or maybe you want to blacklist stuff, or maybe you want to encrypt your emails because they might have confidential information. Right. So here we'll be looking all those things through something called as the ESA, that's the Email Security Appliance. Similarly, of course, all enterprise networks would also use web, of course, in some way or the other, needless to say. And again, a lot of malware, Trojans, viruses can be introduced through the web, right? We need to sort of secure ourselves from all of that web activity, right? So there is something called as the Web Security Appliance, which we'll be looking into, which helps you, filter URLs, and you can scan for malware, and you can categorize URLs and content, right? So that maybe you don't want to visit games website, for example. So you want to categorize stuff, right? So all of that we'll be looking into things like here. Uh, there is something called a Cisco umbrella. We'll also be looking into that. That helps with securing yourself even before you reach the destination. Okay, so because Cisco has a very large footprint in terms of customer base, it knows what sites, what websites would not be uh, worthy of browsing. Maybe they have malicious content or something. So this helps you with DNS filtering. Okay, so even before you reach the website, it knows whether this website is useful or not, and it all helps in a lot of reporting and things like that as well. With the nature of the organizations where people bring in their own devices, like the BYOD, the bring your own device kind of environment, you always want to ensure that the devices that are attaching to your network, they are secure or not, right? So that you can ensure through something called as the endpoint security, right? Wherein your endpoints would be secured even before they join the network. So you can set up policies whether you can check, whether the devices fulfill criteria. So you can set up criterions and you can ensure that even only if they fulfill the criteria, they are allowed to attach to your network, else not. So that is something that you learn in endpoint security. We'll also, of course, be learning about authentication. A major part of security is, of course, authentication, right? And that is what we'll be learning here. So we'll be learning how to configure AAA, right, through using TACAS or Redis, right? And you can also learn, you'll be also learning things about the identity service engine. So that's again a device ICE, as it is called, and it will help you in setting up guest services, profiling your users, and you can again do some posture assessment, maybe like what your devices are and uh, do you want to allow them to connect or not, and so on and so forth. So you'll be looking into those things here. All right, so this is like an overview of the outline of the lab that we are going to look at in the SCOR 35701 course outline at PyNet Labs. Hoping to see you there. Bye bye.